She's on many, many shows. True Detective on HBO, White Lotus season one, etc. So she's announced her divorce after 3 years of marriage from her husband, Andrew Form, and they confirmed this through a statement that they jointly released. Typical for these kinds of things is they say
Right.
they will continue to co-parent their child together as they appreciate privacy while they navigate this transition. Always very good. They have one child. They were married in 2022. We don't really have too many details yet. They, we don't know the asset division. We don't know if there's a prenup like we like to think about or talk about. So
Because we
I hope
want
they do.
prenup.
All right,
For their
exactly.
sake.
Andrew Form is a producer for several films like A Quiet Place, The Purge, etc. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated as we find out more information in the coming shows. So stay tuned.
Cool. That's great. So, in other news, Pink separates from Carrie Hart, not Corey Hart, for you sunglasses at night fans. Carrie Hart for a second time after 20 years of marriage. He's tatted up quite a bit. I see. I'm looking at pictures. Source, exclusive source. This is from people.com, formerly FKA, People Magazine. And the Grammy winner then posted a video on Instagram refuting the separation and calling it fake news. So, okay, we're going to dig in a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Pink and her husband, Carrie Hart, have separated after 20 years of marriage, a source tells People. Okay. A rep for Pink had no comment. Now, you'd think if it wasn't happening, the rep would say it's not happening. A rep
Oh,
for
yes,
Hart did
that's
not,
true. Right.
I don't know. A rep for Hart did not immediately respond to People's request for comment. However, Pink posted a video in the afternoon of Thursday, February 26th. This is fresh off the press, ladies and gentlemen. We're recording this just the day after, refuting the report. Here's a quote from Pink. So I was just alerted to the fact that I'm separated from my husband, she said in a video shared on Instagram. I didn't know. Thank you for letting me know. Would you like to tell our children? My 14 and 9-year-old are also unaware. She continued, do you want to talk about my accomplishments or do you only want to talk about my supposed demise? So fake news, not true. I love you all. Okay, well, the Trust Fall singer, 46, I did not know Trust Fall was considered one of her better hits. I don't know that song. And former pro motocross racer, I didn't know he was a motocross racer, shared two children after meeting in the X Games in Philadelphia, which explains the motocross angle. Pink, born Alicia Moore, and Hart dated off and on before he proposed in 2005. Well, long dating time. We talk about our rules. Probably takes about a year or two to figure out if you want to marry somebody. 4 years? I don't know.
You know what we say about that stuff?
And guess what? They had a destination wedding. Uh-oh.
2 for 2 so far.
Yeah, these are our famous I just want this done divorce signs of trouble in a marriage. The lengthy dating, we're engaged forever. The unserious destination wedding. We've talked about this before. See, your mileage may vary, but check if we're right. Think about your friends, family. Okay.
It walks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
It might be a duck. 2 years later, the pair announced they separated for the first time. This is way back when. Pink and Hart stayed amicable. Hart even appeared in a music video for So What, which was a huge hit, which was inspired by their separation. I did not know that. In 2009, they revealed they reconciled. Good, called off separation. We're rebuilding. Okay, there you go. Blah, blah, blah. Looking, long-term relationship is not easy. I agree. This is Pink speaking. It is much easier to stay in the solid days and jump from relationship to relationship because then you don't have to fix the problems that keep recurring. Also, very wise. That's my comment. You have to end up fixing yourself. You can't fix the other person. Pink giving out dropping all the sauce, as the kids say, on the keeping a relationship together. So I think that's good, a real good advice. So that's the scoop on Pink. So we don't really know. Apparently she's refuting it. Who knows who the source is? Time will tell. But actually some good advice on staying together for the long term. Rahul, tell us about Bumble.
Yeah, so Bumble announced on Thursday. So this is would be yesterday. I mean, we're shooting on Friday the 27th. So Thursday would be the 26th of February.
Yep.
They announced that they're adding a series of AI-driven features, and this is an article from TechCrunch. intended to help turn matches into lasting connections, of course, including those that offer feedback and guidance on users' bios, photos, and prompts. So,
Okay.
the dating app's new AI suggested profile, this article says, a guidance tool will roll out globally and give personalized, actionable feedback on users' bios and prompts. Here in the United States, the profile guidance feature can be augmented with an AI photo feedback tool, which can help you choose the best photos and show up as your most authentic self. So,
Like
Rafe, we've riffed on this before about
we
having your
we
Star
love this one.
Wars.
We riff on this
Uh,
because we just love
yeah.
this.
So
This is like you don't need AI to tell you not to wear your stormtrooper outfit in the pictures or your Chewbacca suit.
hmm
And
exactly.
the fish is another one, or a picture with you with another girl. Not smart, guys. Avoid.
hmm
Or the picture with you and a gang of other dudes, where the question is which one is you, and especially if somebody outshines you and they look better in the picture than you do, that's a bad move.
Right.
So there's a bunch of like clear don'ts, but I guess AI can tell you not to do it. So anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
Hey, right.
Please continue. I interrupted you.
No, exactly. So they're just leveraging AI, right? Because now AI is the flavor of the season. So everything and everybody needs to use AI. And so it's sort
Right.
of like Bumble and other popular dating apps like Match Groups, Tinder, and Hinge. This article says, have all embraced AI-powered features in recent months. For instance, in December, Hinge announced a tool to help generate more interesting conversation starters than "How are you?" So we had our matchmaker friend on our show a couple of
Yeah.
episodes
Blaine
ago.
Anderson.
Definitely check out the episode. Blaine Anderson, like Rafe said, who says starting with "Hi" or "How are you" is probably not the best way to start a conversation
Right.
in this day and age.
You're not expected
So,
to be Hemingway, but you probably need to come out with something better than that. Although I'm
exactly.
old
So,
school and I don't see what the problem is with that. I'm like, to me, the best line is saying, "Hi, I'm Rafe Palmer. What's your name?" Ask your name, and then you start talking to people. I don't know.
exactly. Yeah.
It's
It's like Michael Scott says, right? "Hi, I'm Date Mike. Nice to
hi.
meet me.
Does he say pleased to meet me?
Pleased to meet me. How would you like
Pleased
your
to
eggs in the
meet-
morning?"
Yeah, right. Date Mike. Yeah, when he puts on his Kangol hat. Yeah, that was from The Office, ladies and gentlemen. So we're big
For those
fans
who don't get the reference, yes.
of The Office. So yeah, this AI thing, it's kind of like, are we going to get into a place where people worry that the online stuff's even more fake, and they don't know if they're really talking to the person or they're talking to a chat bot essentially, and they're the guy is looking like he's got more riz for you kids out there, charisma. than he does, and the lines seem real witty and everything, but they have too many M dashes in them. So for you AI fans, you could tell it's Chat GPT. So you really kind of wonder where we're going with this. And Rahul and I've said this many times before, and Blaine talked about this too. There's no substitute for IRL. You got to meet people in real life. And this apps may be useful to try to meet some people, but realistically, you're only going to date people who live in a fairly close geographical area from you. So you're probably smart to go around your area, your gym, your local bar
Bookstore.
or something. And yeah. And I hate, whatever, church, go somewhere, meet some people. I don't know. You get social. And it may not be that the person you meet at the bar might not be the girl or the woman you want to meet. It may be that you get to know the bartender because you go there once in a while, and the staff, and they know a woman that would be good for you, or a man, and you tell them you're dating or you're looking
or
to
hire
meet
a matchmaker
people,
if you can't do that,
or hire a matchmaker, and see what happens. But you've got to find these dating apps. There's so much static, especially if you're a man, because we know statistically women are swiping positively on only a very small percentage of guys because it's all visual, and women can't hear your personality. They can't see what makes you interesting and funny or whatever. It doesn't come across. They're just looking at pictures.
They're seeing you hold that fish up like this, and they don't know.
They're seeing your stormtrooper, your snowtrooper outfit because you're showing your Hoth chops for you Star Wars fans, and she's not impressed because she doesn't have a Princess Leia sail barge costume, folks. For if you're following me, Star Wars fans, I'm with you. And that was the bikini for those of you who are playing the home game. She's wearing like a gold bikini with Jabba the Hutt.
Oh, that's right.
Anyway.
That's right.
So, but yeah, this is a challenging world out there. And what's interesting is this is marketing problem. This is exactly what Blaine Anderson's talking about. Meeting people initially is marketing. And what's going on in marketing right now? Digital marketing online is saturated with all kinds of noise. Similarly, the dating apps are buried in static. So how do you cut through it? You go meet people in real life. And whether it's
Exactly.
speed dating events or whatever it is, put yourself out there. The more cards you play, just like playing cards, the more chance you have of finding your queen or king. There you go. There's
Oh,
my
look at
card
that.
analogy. Thank you.
That's
You got to
good.
run more cards through your hand to have opportunities to play, and that means meeting a lot of people. So don't sit in your place and complain that nobody likes you. Get out there and meet a bunch of people. That's my advice to you folks. I want to see you happy out there. Okay. But
Perfect.
I digress. Thank you.
Yes.
What Rahul,
So
talk to us. What's up next?
yeah,
We got listener questions, right?
we got a listener question. So the first question's for you, Rafe. Is it possible in Illinois for two people married almost 20 years with a $20,000 annual salary gap, so a difference in income of about $20,000, to divorce and not give or take anything from the other, simply walk away? They each keep their assets and incomes, 401ks, and so on, and just be done? I'm assuming there's no kids involved or minor
Yeah.
kids.
I like the question because, of course, it ties into the title of the book and the podcast. I just want this done.
Right.
But the person's asking us a straightforward question. Basically, we call this a walk away. This is a divorce where people just part ways, take their stuff, and leave. And it's certainly possible. It's up to your agreement of the two parties. And a salary difference of $20,000 will generally mean there's no maintenance. There's no alimony. In Illinois, we call it maintenance. And with the income's that close in Illinois, you're really not going to get alimony. Other states, your mileage may vary, but so this, assuming the assets are roughly equal, then sure, it's possible for both people to walk away. Even if they're slightly unequal, people will sometimes say it isn't worth the legal fees and grief to fight over this and do the discovery and everything. Let's just everybody pack up their bags and walk out.
Right.
And occasionally we have cases like that. It's not common for it to be that close. Typically, it's more complicated than that, but it's certainly possible to answer the question. So, and you just release claims to the other person's assets, and off you go. So, with no kids, makes it a lot easier, and you can do this. Sure.
Right.
You typically see this in sorry, Rahul. You typically see this in short marriages.
Right.
Rahul, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, I was going to say you see them in short marriages, and I was going to add that you know, when you're dividing the assets, I know we say it's all 401ks. We presume in this is that everyone is about equal, but you know, you want to make sure there's an equitable distribution, because a judge can still veto it if it's one-sided.
That's a good point. Yeah, and if you
like
went
super one-sided.
Yeah, if it's tilted way too far one way, the judge is going to ask a lot of questions, and the judge theoretically might not approve the divorce. So you would need a good explanation. If it's a short marriage, and sometimes some party they have a conscience and they say, well, you know, this wasn't fair to them. They didn't expect that I would, you know, like it's a short marriage and then the person cheats on them after a couple of years. And they actually feel bad about it, and they feel like they kind of ripped the other person off, and they say, I don't want their money. I just want to get out of this.
Right.
And
exactly.
You see that once in a blue moon. People will say it's not fair. Or somebody has a ton of non-marital assets, and they say, look, I'm set for life. I don't need any of their money. And they pack up their bags and leave. It's obviously not common, but it happens. So Rahul, here's a good one.
Before that, can we take a 30-second break really quick?
Yeah.
Just a 30-second show break. One moment.
And now for a commercial break and a word from your sponsors. I will show you something cool. Hold on. While we're waiting, this is my best-selling book. I just want this done. How Smart, Successful People Get Divorced Without Losing Their Kids, Money, and Minds. Available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and where all great ebooks are sold. So you Nook fans and Apple Books, you can find this there. This is the definitive guide to divorce. It's not only Illinois specific. This is not only all 50 states, but I have people in India buying this book. I have people in Australia buying this book, Canada. Even though this has been 4 or 5 years in publication, it's still a bestseller, and it is the definitive book on divorce. And in the book, we talk about things from cost benefit analysis and how to analyze a settlement offer to how to hire a great divorce lawyer, when to know that it's time to fire your divorce lawyer and how to do that. We talk about various strategies in divorce. We discuss what not to do in a divorce to avoid blowing things up and making it worse. We talk about positive tips, what to do, what to consider, what to think about. We talk about things like there's a whole concept in here. You can't see it. It's called don't push the rope. Pushing a rope is try to push a rope. It gets all squiggly. And the concept is people say, well, why can't we move the divorce along? And I talk about that. Those are common frustrations. You're not able to move the divorce along. You're trying to push a rope. I talk about my bridge theory, airplane analogy, all these things that help you understand divorce and frame it in your mind so that you can be an educated customer. Not only whether you're doing the divorce on your own, you're representing yourself, or you hire an attorney, this is the definitive guide to divorce. I just want this done. How smart, successful people get divorced without losing their kids' money and minds. Thanks very much. And Rahul's back. So perfect timing.
No, that's great. Thank you.
My pleasure. So, Rahul, tell us about the next question. We talked about this before the show, and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah. So, general, simple question, right? It's a very simple one-liner. Can you win a divorce? You were just talking about your book.
Yeah, it's one of those simple but complex things. And there's things we've talked about before on the show, and we talk about in consultations, where some decisions are simple but hard, meaning it's obvious what the choices are, that the person's unhappy in the relationship. They've tried counseling, like nothing works. And they have the decision is stay and get more of the same, assuming they've tried to fix things. And that's in my upcoming book, I Just Want to Know. I talk about all the steps you should follow before you jump out the parachute out the side of the plane. And then the other part is that you want to know, with respect to this whole thing, that the hard part of it is the consequences are difficult. That is, the decision may be simple, but if you decide to divorce, it's going to be a hard road. So deciding is easy, because I should say it's clear. The decision isn't complex, but the road you're going to go down is difficult.
Right.
And win a divorce is kind of like, it's very deep because there's layers to this.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing you said, Rahul, before, what did you say before the show? I thought that was good.
So there's two winners, or one or two winners in every divorce, and they're usually the lawyers. It's either one or both lawyers. I mean, in the sense that if only one side has a lawyer, then the lawyer wins. If both sides have lawyers, both the lawyers win. Why? Because you get what you as the client, you get what you want, you have to pay the lawyer. You don't get what you want, you still have to pay the lawyer. Right. So the lawyer walks away, earning their keep, so to speak, making their way, the fees that they've generated or earned from representing you. However, you have to make sure you do a cost benefit analysis to make sure you prioritize what is most important to you and determine how much time, energy, effort, and money you want to spend chasing after that. And your lawyer should be able to tell you how likely or unlikely it is that you will get some or all of what you're asking for. And so you can always have a divorce that is you're happy with, or you're unhappy with, or you're okay with, but you can't win. You're going to say, Rafe?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've said before, both people lose in a divorce because you're losing the relationship, and it's going to be hard on the kids no matter what, and there's expenses involved and everything else. So there are occasionally people may feel like they win, especially if they really wanted out of the relationship. So we're just trying to make the point that the cost benefit analysis is crucial, that lawyers can either make it a little better, help you get a softer landing, but there isn't a binary outcome. And what I mean by that is an all or nothing outcome, except in rare things like a custody case where You have no choice but to fight for sole custody. Maybe there's an abuse situation. Then you want to win custody. You want sole custody. You want to have it all, you make all the decisions and not let them make the decisions. Sometimes you have those win-lose things, but divorce courts are required by state law to come up with equitable outcomes, which tend to be around the middle. And in the book, I talk about the divorce outcomes gauge is, if you imagine a gauge and it's like a gas gauge and there's 0 in the middle with the needle at like 12 o'clock, like a clock. And I show the needle going -5 or 10 and +5 or 10. Imagine it going between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. That's all people are typically pushing the needle. If you imagine one side favoring one spouse, the other side of 12 favoring the other spouse, the most aggressive lawyering pushes the needle only a little bit in either direction, typically. Sometimes you have no choice.
Right. Exactly. And like, you're exactly right. I mean, if one person wants to move a child out of state and the other person doesn't, well, obviously the person, if they get to move the child out of the state, wins, or if the judge says no, then this person feels like they won, right? So we're not talking about that. We're talking about not one static issue. We're talking about just like the overall divorce,
the whole case.
Minus these unique one-off issues where there's a binary result. I mean, exactly. So yeah, no, that's exactly right, Rafe. So.
And you have cases where you have business valuation. So we have a business involved, whether you own part of it or all of it, and business valuation is at issue. So you say, okay, the two expert witnesses testifying about the business differ widely. One says it's 10 million, one says it's 8 million or 7. Well, there's a lot of money at stake. So you have no choice but to have a trial unless you can negotiate some number in the middle that makes people happy. You have no choice but to put on that evidence and to have the judge decide, because too much money is on the table. And sometimes just the fact that the outcomes are so far apart, or the potential data points are so far apart, you're sort of stuck with a trial.
Right.
Because people figure it's worth the chance, that the cost benefit is worth, if $1.5 million is on the table either way, then if there's a $3 million difference, which means $1.5 million in the swing, 50-50 division, then somebody's going to say, well, it's worth the trial for me. If it costs me $75,000 to have the trial, I'll take my chances. So, and that's what we talk about in the book is, what is your potential gain at trial? What's your potential downside? What's the cost in terms of time and money to get there? And so one of the things, another way I say it, and Rahul's talked about it with saying the lawyers win, is you can pay for your kid's college or my kid's college.
Yeah, well said. Yes.
And, we'd rather have it be easy. There's plenty of divorces that are tough. It's better that yours be easier. So if you can simplify the thing and get down and be reasonable, you're going to save money and time and emotional energy. So
work out as much as you can amongst yourselves.
Yeah, or try to mediate possible, or do alternative dispute resolution. Be realistic, about your potential outcomes. And one thing a lawyer said a long time ago that I thought was great in the context in a collaborative case, which is true for any settlement, is not is it fair? Because fair, he says, is a 4-letter F word.
That's
because fair is relative. Your fair is different than my fair. For some people, the divorce just isn't fair.
Right. It's not fair not to get divorced.
It'll never be fair. They were cheated on. Somebody left them. They wanted to stay married. That's not fair at all. So even if the money side is good and the bits of the legal part of the divorce are fair, that person's not going to feel like it's fair at all. So what he says is it acceptable to you? Is this solution acceptable? That's a better way to frame it. So
absolutely.
Okay, Rahul, I got a question for you now.
Yes.
Anything else on that before we move on to this next question?
I think that was comprehensive.
This is I just think it's an interesting topic, and I think it frames up these entire cases. And when somebody's consulting with an attorney, they should have this in mind and ask a lawyer if this is how they look at things. This is something I harp on in the book, and I think too many lawyers just go through the motions, and literally and figuratively, and the client hires them, and they just file the case and start plugging away. And unfortunately, the way I say it is, I say they They litigate. So the way we do it is evaluate. So figure out what the case is about. Be realistic. Negotiate. Try to work out a deal. Litigate as your last resort. So have the court decide as a last resort. Most lawyers do like ready, fire, aim, so they litigate right out of the gate or right off the bat. They evaluate the case way down the road, like before trial. They don't even dig into the facts until later. And they negotiate at the end. Well, that's not a good way to run a railroad, and what's weird is in other areas of litigation, early evaluation is critical. That's where I grew up in personal injury litigation and in contract litigation. And you need to be able to tell your client what their chances are right off the jump. And in divorce, because people want to get, they know they want the divorce, so they're coming to you anyway. Lawyers will kind of just file and then kind of figure it out later. Also, lawyers tend to be overloaded. And one thing we try to be careful about is our case counts, so that our lawyers aren't buried and they can focus on each case. So one thing you want to ask if you're hiring a lawyer is, what's your case count? How many cases do you handle? How many cases are in your firm right now? If they're shy about it, that's kind of interesting. That might tell you something. If they have more than 35 cases or so, 35 to 45, substantially more than that is dangerous. Are they going to pay attention to you? How busy is their docket? So, okay, Rahul, I got a question for you.
Yes.
How do you finalize a divorce? These are real questions from our audience, by the way. How to finalize a divorce with a house as a shared asset. This is interesting because there's like a number of ways to skin it, right? So we're selling the home, splitting the profit, but from my understanding, we can finalize the divorce and put in the agreement that profit must be split.
Yeah. So essentially, what do you do with a house? Now that we're divorced, but we still have this house together, we're trying to sell it. What do we do with it? What happens? How do we write it up? So this is a very, very common term in what we call marital settlement agreements that really deal with all the financial components of your divorce. So you have an agreement regarding the parenting issues and you have an agreement regarding the financial issues. So for the financial issues, let's say you have this house that you're selling, hasn't sold yet, and you're showing it, but you're ready to get divorced. Everything else is done. So this document should outline what the sale price is, how much equity is approximately in the house, who the realtor that you've selected is. What do we do if it doesn't sell or if it doesn't show well? How do you decide if you should lower the price? How long should it be on market? Do you have to accept an offer within a certain range of the the listing price? How are the net sales proceeds going to be distributed? You obviously, depending on what's owed on the house, et cetera, you'll pay your customary closing costs first. You'll get rid of, the mortgage, all those things, any HELOCs that might be there, commissions, taxes, et cetera. And then what happens? How do you split the remaining net proceeds? Are you guys doing a 50-50 deal? Whatever the case is, you'll list all that in this agreement. It's usually like 2 pages long, but you got to do it. You got to do it, or else you can't just say, we'll figure it out.
We're going to sell.
We're going to sell and we'll figure it out. That's the worst way to do it, because believe me, more likely than not, you won't be able to figure it out. At least
that points up a good thing, Rahul. Can you address that and the importance of that preparation to avoid post-decree litigation, and talk a little bit about how poor drafting creates post-decree litigation, or can create post-decree litigation? Explain, I guess, for the audience what we're talking about. But then, like, if they leave it vague, what are they begging for? That kind of thing.
Right. So decree really means, the document that says you're divorced. So it's a divorce decree. Pre-decree, when we say, is before you're divorced, before the document is entered. Now, accordingly, post-decree is following or after the decree has been entered. So pre-decree, you might have every single thing in your divorce as an issue. Post-decree, you might just have these static one issue kind of deals. And so, like you said, if your settlement agreement or an order or whatever the case is vague or poorly drafted to the point where it creates, contradictions, things like that, ambiguity, what it's going to lead to is it's going to lead to misinterpretations of what each person's obligation is. And so one person is going to say, this is what I'm supposed to give you. And the other person is supposed to say, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing the wrong thing. And then now, and then you look at the document in each person's perspective, and they both seem to be right. So
Right.
well, you can't both be right. So what do we do here? So then you have to go back to court, and the judge's going to have a hell of a hard time trying to figure out what the two of you agree to,
Right.
because they can only go off of what the final document says and what your uh, uh, judgment is. And if you had an oral prove up, which is basically the day you are, testifying towards
Right.
your divorce and getting divorced, and there might be a transcript of that. Maybe there's a question or two regarding that provision. They call that parole evidence. You could potentially look for that to see if that helps clarify anything. But if it doesn't, and you typically in these prove up hearings, you don't really go through every line of the agreement. If
Right.
it doesn't really have any further clarity, it's going to be an issue trying to figure out who wins. Now, typically, depending on how big the issue is, you'll try and just work something out, which splits the baby, or somehow you
Yeah.
both compromise on something to be done, because there's no right answer. But that could oftentimes be a minimal change or a pretty big difference. So
But tying
yeah, I
into
think
this real
yeah,
estate thing, if you just
yeah,
say we agree to sell it and split the proceeds, and you have a real short description
yeah,
in the settlement agreement, then inevitably you're going to fight over price or who the realtor is or any number of
yep,
things, and you're going to be back in
hmm,
court spending real money fighting over these kind of details, which is why the detailed agreement Rahul's talking about is essential.
hmm,
And there are
hmm,
lawyers that don't know that they need to do that. And they don't know that that agreement should be held out of the marital settlement agreement because that's public record. And predatory buyers can dig around in the divorce records and see, oh, these people are going to be pressured to sell. I'll lowball these guys.
right.
So you want that agreement to be private and detailed, like Rahul was saying.
Exactly. So that's what I would say about that. Okay, now a question for you, Rafe.
Okay.
Is it normal for my attorney to write up agreed orders and send it to opposing counsel before I can review it?
Uh, yes and no. So I would say it depends. And I know that sounds like a lawyer answer, but if you've talked to if it's a lawyer thing, meaning we're going to agree on some discovery deadlines and some things like that. I call them, there's lawyer things I call lawyer things and client things. So things that are like process based and they have to do with the lawyering in the case. There's no need to get an agreement of the client on what's in the agreed order. So you agree to continue the case for status to the next month or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So what? The client does, first of all, the client doesn't really have any input anyway. They don't even really know what they're looking at on some of these things. Or maybe
Mm-hmm.
they could drop things into ChatGPT and second guess it. But a lot of times there's no value in sharing it with the client ahead of time. And it's kind of like having the pilot check with you when you're in a commercial airplane. Oh, I want the pilot to check with me about his navigation to Dallas from Chicago. Like I want him to tell everybody in the passenger compartment needs to know the flight plan. You know,
Right.
no, you don't. No, you don't. And they're not going to give it to you. And that's okay. There are things where the client should be aware. So one of the things about this question is the person posing the question didn't really explain the situation in detail. So it's sort of hard to evaluate. So I'd say there's routine things where agreed orders are entered all the time and the lawyer doesn't and shouldn't consult with their client. There are times when you want to. For example, an agreed order related to parenting. Well, we better make sure our client's okay with that, or we're going to have a hearing.
Right.
Agreed order related to support. These are things these outcomes based things that are critical to the client's outcome. Those things need to be discussed with the client in advance and approved. So there's a tactical and strategic thing here. So the tactics is within the province of the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what our ethics rules say. So we don't have to say mother may I for every move we make in these cases. It would be impractical. Our bills would go through the roof, and the
It's
clients don't know.
inefficient.
It's inefficient. The clients don't know what they're looking at anyway. Most of them, and that's not a knock on the clients. When a contractor comes in the house to do electrical work, I don't know what I'm looking at. That's his job. So he's putting conduit in or something. That's not. I'm not going. Oh, you're not doing that right. That's not my business. That's their business. So there are things that are lawyer things that are tactical, that are our decision, and we don't need to check with the client. And there are things that are strategic, that are outcomes based, whether we're going to settle, whether we're not going to settle. Are we going to accept X dollars for maintenance or not? Are we dividing an asset thus and so? Are we requiring that? Are we going to drop the house sale price 5% a month or not? What realtor are we agreeing to? Those are all things the client needs to have input on and judge in advance. So it's a mixed bag answer. So that's the answer.
Yep. No, that's perfect.
So okay, moving on, we're going to some fun stuff here. So what is an alpine divorce? It's not about downhill skiing. You're not skiing during the divorce, right?
No, you're not just skiing during the divorce. However,
Or going
it's
to.
pretty similar. So this
Okay.
is an article from outsideonline.com. It's very nice. It's a nice read. So you can check it out when you have a second. But this is this term alpine divorce, this article says, is commonly used today as a description for an incident when one mountain partner abandons the other, often due to factors like differing climbing speeds and comfort levels in mountains. And
Okay.
so now, after a series of recent events, the article says the term is on the rise, and lawmakers are having conversations about responsibility and who should be liable, in terms of death and such. So alpine divorce basically means, recently, there was a TikTok video trending that claims that her boyfriend left her behind on a hike that's, accumulated more than 3 million views, it says. And I think recently there was another article where someone left someone and that person died on the hill, things like that. So really, I think this is a, uh, more of a thing about how do you abandon someone somewhere, leave them high and dry, or do you not? So this article especially is just really related to, if someone is negligent because of leaving someone that ends up dying or seriously hurt,
Yeah.
if there's gross manslaughter, things like that, because it's referring to this Thomas Plamberger, who was convicted of gross negligent
Yeah, I saw
manslaughter
that.
after he, abandoned his girlfriend on a technical ascent of a 12,000-foot peak. And so she died. Very scary
Crazy.
stuff.
It's really
Crazy.
something. Yeah.
So, he's saying it's her coming down is not my responsibility. I mean, but the court tended to beg to differ. So
Yeah.
really, I mean, it's interesting to think about, because while this article especially relates to just, uh, you know, what is the person's responsibility? Is it legal, quote unquote, negligence to abandon someone like this? I mean, I think you can extrapolate that in our world to say, when everything is, you guys are doing this whole thing together, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to someone, you leave them. I mean, maybe that's a sort of an analogy to say, this is an alpine divorce type of situation. So
Yeah.
I think
Interesting.
that's interesting.
Let's look at the, so then, okay. Oh, this is a good one. So, okay. You're going to like this one. So editor, please take out the gap. I'm going to actually mark this clip. There was a bit of a, I know, clip created for marker. I don't know if I meant to do that. Anyway, there's a mark there to take out the gap, but this is great. Ghost lighting is a new dating trend. Now we try to keep on top of these dating trends as a public service for you. And we've heard of a lot of them. We've talked about gaslighting. We've talked about ghosting. This is a new one. This is from usatoday.com. The dating world is getting more harrowing by the minute. This is not me. This is them saying. Just when you thought ghosting or disappearing or on someone you're dating without warning, kind of like the alpine divorce, was enough of a problem, new trend has entered the zeitgeist. That's even worse. Zeitgeist. It's called ghostlighting, essentially a toxic combo of ghosting and gaslighting. Okay. Ghostlighters drop all communication only to reinitiate contact later, as if nothing ever happened. Again, I'm quoting the article. This is the funny part. To make matters worse, they'll often try to gaslight the person they were dating into believing there was no ghosting in the first place. It's not me, it's you, is what they're saying. You must. I was always there with you. I don't know what I was always talking to you. Even it's been a month. Oh, that's ridiculous. I've been thinking about you every day. And here's a quote from. Actually, it'd be interesting to interview this person. Dating expert and author of Unsingle: How to Date Smarter and Create Love That Lasts, coming in April.
Okay.
Author Amy Chan. Instead of owning it, they brush it off like it's no big deal and make an excuse like, it seemed you were super busy, so I didn't want to bother you.
It's your fault.
It's not me, it's you. Yeah.
It's not me, it's you. It's always you.
What makes it different from simple ghosting is the psychological twist. Ghosting is avoidance. Ghost lighting adds distortion by manipulating the facts so you doubt your own reality. It's like a little narcissistic twist. And they used to say,
I was waiting for you to reach out to me.
Yeah, like you didn't call me. It's the Steve Jobs reality distortion field. There was that 90 Day Fiance had an episode with a couple, and all I remember, the guy was really twisted, and when the woman would get upset with him, he would turn everything around every time, and he'd say, like, I'm paraphrasing, but he'd say something like, when you're upset with me, it makes me upset with you. And it was like, he's like, but I'm upset with you. And he just turned everything around constantly. And after a while, she thought she was like going crazy, you know? So anyway, that's it talks about how gaslighting can take many forms. It can happen when they text you out of the blue, when they suddenly engage with their posts on social media after they haven't for a long time. They subtly try to slide back into your DMs. For those of you playing the home game, that means message you directly or text you.
Right.
Usually ghostlighters will try to pick up exactly where they left off with no acknowledgement of the disappearance. But, you can slide your messages over and see when that last timestamp was and prove they're lying. Ghostlighting's rise should come as no surprise, Chan says. After all, thanks to dating apps and more people meeting online, daters stay in a state of ambiguity with each other for longer than they did in the past. Okay. So anyway, many connections now exist in a gray zone, but wait for it. Blaine Anderson is quoted as well. Our friend Blaine, who was on the show 2 episodes ago. Blaine Anderson, a dating coach for men, says the rise of ghostlighting means it's all the more important to evaluate potential partners by their actions more than their words. Good point. Do they show up? Do they communicate consistently? If they don't do either of those, how do they react when you bring that up to them? Actions speak louder than words, Anderson says. Things happen. Maybe something came up in their personal life. Maybe they weren't ready to date. But if they don't mention or apologize for the fact they disappeared, I'd call them out on it, because you really want to be with someone who could do that again for no reason. Excellent point. Anyway, that's the scoop on ghostlighting. The article goes on quite a bit, but it's that's the gist of the trend. So there you go, folks.
Oh, that's interesting.
So with that, that's it for our show. We want to tell you a couple things, folks. STG Divorce Law is located in Chicago, and we are how smart, successful people get divorced in Chicagoland. We serve Chicago, Cook County, and the collar counties, including Kendall, Will, Kane, DuPage, and Lake County. So we're happy to represent great people all over the Chicagoland area. Let us know. Our law firm is listed online at stgdivorcelaw.com or stglawfirm.com. Either way works. And we're easy to reach. Rahul is at Chicago Divorce on Instagram. I am at Rayford Palmer on Instagram and also on X. And if you have questions for us, comments, just let us know. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. If you like this content, whether you're on YouTube or one of the other podcast platforms, please give us a review. The reviews tell us how we're doing and let other people know about the show. Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure. Have a good one.